I'm Sharon.
I'm Mark, and
And
we
we
are
are
Ponderosa
Ponderosa
Garden
Garden
Adventures.
Adventures. Welcome back. So glad you could join us today. Today we want to talk about getting ready for spring and specifically our peach trees.
We have two peach trees. One is a desert gold, and the other is a red baron. The desert gold, I think we placed at 2019. We planted that just 5 years ago,
Right?
and so it's fully mature. And the red barons, maybe 3 years ago, a couple of years younger,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a smaller plant. So we get tons, and literally we get hundreds of peaches
Baskets full.
on the desert gold and maybe a dozen or two on the red baron. We've had some problems in the last few years with the desert gold. Both of them actually, one of the main problems is peach leaf curl, a fungus that grows on the leaves, and it's really hard to control. When you first see it, you have to remove it as quickly as possible because it will spread to the rest of the tree in a matter of days, in a week or two.
Right.
So the remedy is to pull off as many leaves as every leaf you see that it has the curl on it. It kind of curls and blisters the leaf. You can really, and turns colors, kind of turns orange. So it's really easy to identify. You just have to pull them off, and then you can try and spray it with some fungicide. But once there's flowers or fruit, you can't do that. So we're taking a preventative measure this year. We are using a copper fungicide. This is an organic fungicide, and it's just basically copper suspended in a solution that you can spray on, and it will kill that fungus. Okay, so we have a solution for the peach leaf curl, but before we use that, we need to trim the tree. And Sharon's going to tell us a little more about that because our main concern was having too many branches with too much fruit and that causing overloading on some of the main branches. And then the branches break off, and then you have a really ugly break, and so you have to cut it even further back, and so it's affecting the overall shape of the tree.
Right. And it's not healthy for the tree because when you don't have a clean cut on a tree and you've got an opening, it's just like any wound where, fungus can get in or other diseases.
Yeah, hopefully we took care of the broken branches issue with not only cutting the main branches, but cutting anything that was really small branches, smaller than a pencil. And on the ones that were sticking straight up, we would cut it, as Sharon said, with an eye to where the buds are, so that instead of having a branch go straight up off a branch, where we cut it off, it's going to have several branches.
Or crossing.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll update with footage after it starts leafing out to see how it came out. Now, I just want to talk really quickly about the peach trees we have. We have two peach trees. The first one we planted is called a desert gold, and it's a very delicious kind of fruit. It's a little smaller than your typical size peach. There's about 5 to a pound, about a quarter pound each maybe, and they're really good sort of as a just as a snacking peach. They're a little juicy, so a little too juicy to make pies and things like that. But
Delicious.
but I did can some a few years ago, and I just ate them recently, and they were really good. So on the plus side, they're very delicious.
Nice texture.
Nice texture. They're juicy and lots of flavor.
And the skin is not really thick. And so, I know myself, for most store-bought peaches, I don't like the skin. I don't like that flavor and texture. But these I can just eat whole. So
The thing is that the fruit ripens over the course of 2 weeks. So you have to use all the fruit in a short amount of time. In the past, again, we had hundreds of peaches, so we literally ended up throwing out a lot of the crop. So again, we're going to thin aggressively and then probably can
Right.
and preserve what we have left over this year.
right.
The other tree we have is a red baron, and it was a younger tree. It actually had no roots. It was
Yeah.
a newly grafted stalk with just
Right.
a few little roots. So we really started that one from scratch. A little bit further behind, fewer fruit, but they're larger and they are a deep red flesh. Very delicious.
And that's a
Definitely
dwarf tree. So its stature is much smaller. So it's about what, 4.5 feet tall.
Right now, yeah, yeah, maybe about 5 feet tall. I was
Yeah.
expecting it to be bigger, but it's only about 5 feet tall. Now the desert gold, by comparison, is about 8 feet tall, but it has been closer to 10 to 12 feet. If we let those branches
Before we
go,
trimmed.
yeah, before we trimmed,
It was
it would
definitely about 12
easily,
feet.
if we let it just go, it would easily go 15, 20 feet. So
Sure.
we want to keep it at about 8 to 10 feet, so we can easily trim and harvest fruit with just a step stool without having to get on a ladder.
Right.
And the red baron, it looks like it's a dwarf. It's going to stay maybe at max, maybe 6 feet tall. So we're not getting a lot of fruit. But another thing we liked about it, one thing that attracted us to the red baron is it makes these beautiful double flowers, these pink double flowers.
Yeah, they're like a really deep pink, almost burgundy flower. And again, it flowers about a month behind the desert gold. The desert gold has white with light pink blossoms, and they're both, even if they weren't fruiting trees, they would be a beautiful ornamental tree in our front yard. And so it's one of the ways we know it's one of the desert gold is one of the first things to start to flower out in early spring, and it's just gorgeous.
And you made an interesting point there. The desert gold blooms and ripens first, and the red baron's a few weeks behind that. So we actually planned it this way so that the desert gold will be blossoming in middle of February, and then it takes about 3 months for the fruit to ripen. So middle of May,
Mm-hmm.
around May 15th, the desert gold harvest will begin and go to the end of June, and then right around beginning middle of June, the red baron starts bearing fruit and will ripen until the end of June. So we get about a
Yeah, usually around the 4th of July. It was a little later this last year
yeah
because we didn't have as much sun. We had so much rain last season.
as
And
well.
as soon as that ends, then the plum starts. So
Yeah, and then the plums start, and we'll do another video on the plum tree because that one we haven't even touched. Oh, one other thing we forgot to mention. Another reason that we chose the particular approach to trimming the tree was that we need to be able to put a bird netting over the tree to
yes,
protect it from the fruit. Birds love the peaches, and so we found in the past that we will lose a good amount of our
25%.
fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good like half of our fruit's going to get lost to birds. We need to be able to put a netting over it. If it gets too tall, it's not going to reach all the way to the ground, and so we need to keep it not only just short but kind of in a nice bowl, upside down
Right.
bowl shape, so that the netting fills over without the branches trying to
And
stick
that's my
through it.
preference for fruit trees. Everybody has their own preference. There's you can do them in a V shape or you can do them, in a rounded top, and I prefer a more balanced, especially since this is in front of our house, and so as I said, we use it as an ornamental part of our landscape as well.
Peaches grow really well here. You may have heard of chill hours. I think the desert gold needs 200 to 300, and maybe the red baron's a little more, like 250 to 350, but we easily get that. Chill hours are below 45 degrees,
Right,
and so you need for like 200 chill hours. Let's say you get 10 hours a night, you need at least 20 days where it gets down below
right.
45, and we easily get that. Any fruit tree that's more than 400 or 500, like anything that's like 600 chill hours, is not going to do well here. We can't guarantee we're going to get that much, but 2 to 300 we easily get.
That is a consideration when you're choosing your fruit trees, because we definitely, there's varieties that we can't grow here because we don't get snow. We do get down in freezing, but not very many days. We are pretty much gardening year round. That's one of the reasons we live here. It's the gorgeous weather.
And one more thing that we're considering doing is to spray with neem oil. So one other problem that we haven't mentioned because we haven't had it recently, but we've had it in the past, is something called peach borer. These borer beetles that will bore into the trunk of the tree, up through, and then into the actual fruit. And we saw this happening to the red baron the first year, and then we hit it with the neem oil and the fungicide. Now we haven't seen it recently, but I think it would be a good idea to preventatively hit it just once before the leaves come out
And once it's there,
damaged.
it gets into the fruit. There's nothing you think it looks gorgeous from the outside. You cut it open and you can see
Yeah, you can see like a worm's been through it.
it's nasty.
When I trimmed the desert gold, I saw like the where I cut the branch. I looked at it, looked really healthy, all clean, and there was no evidence whatsoever of any kind of boring insect. But the red baron has had it in the past,
So we
and
just keep a
so
close eye on
I
it.
think we'll
Yeah,
just do it a quick hit
right,
with it. It couldn't hurt.
right. And neem
And
oil, you guys have probably used it for other things. We use it on the roses quite a bit, and to take care of powdery mildew, and it's also good for spider mites and lots of other things. Important thing to mention though, neem oil, we want to make sure that you're doing this in the early morning or in the evening. You don't want it to affect our pollinators, and so we want to make sure that we're only doing that early morning or late in the evening. So just to summarize, we're going to trim first. We're going to look at any dead wood in the tree. We're going to look at the scaffolding and the main shape of the tree. We're going to look at the height of the tree and then prune with intention for future growth in the next season. Then we're going to address any issues preventatively with organic fungicide. And once the tree starts to fruit, we're going to lighten the load and make sure to reduce the amount of fruit to allow for bigger fruit and so that the branches don't get overburdened. And it's hard. It's so hard to take. You
it's hard
imagine
to throw
all
them
that good
out.
fruit. That's really the thing is you want to make sure that each fruit has enough space to fully mature, and you want to make sure that the branch is able to sustain the weight of the fruit that's on there. And so we're just going to monitor it more closely this year. We've had great harvests in the past, and I expect it will be again this year. So we appreciate you joining us today. If you like the content you saw today, please consider subscribing. It's free. If you know of someone who could use this video, you think it might be informational for them, please share it. Of course, give us a thumbs up if you thought we did a good job.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.